I'm detecting a transmission. Readings are still inconclusive. However, the moon's atmosphere is capable of supporting life.
Interesting, the moon's atmosphere. Imagine if we had evolved on the moon instead of the Earth. What a crew.
I'm reading one life form. Very weak signs.
Oh shit.
About to say that the structure looks familiar.
I didn't recognize the structure, but wow, you think they're gonna bring them back and have a Borg captive on the Enterprise?
And then have a scene with Picard in that Borg? Ooh.
Riker to Enterprise.
Go ahead, number one.
Okay.
This is an iBorg.
We found the wreckage of a small craft.
Like iRobot?
Male, adolescent, he's badly hurt.
Oh shit.
His PTSD went off.
Let me at least stabilize his condition, give him a chance of surviving until they get here.
But any intervention on our part would alert the Borg to our having been there. Kill it now. Security measures must be taken before we beam it on board.
Thank you, Captain.
Too virtuous.
Too virtuous.
Oh, there's more! Oh no. Oh!
A brain! Burned it. Burn the bodies.
And also, who could have done this to them?
That's a good question, yeah. The Ferengi?
I would have thought having a Borg on the ship would stir some feelings.
I'm quite recovered from my experience, thank you.
You were treated violently by the Borg. Kidnapped, assaulted, mutilated.
Counselor.
Well, if at any point you want to talk more.
I shall certainly avail myself of your help.
You think he's telling the truth or lying to himself?
Putting on the captain's face. If I don't acknowledge it, it's not real.
Some of the implants in his brain were damaged. I may have to remove them.
The Borg will die if they're removed permanently.
Yeah, because with Picard, didn't they have to do a whole thing with, like, data plugged into him and shit?
Mm-hmm.
If we could get to the root command, we could introduce an invasive programming sequence and then return it to the hive, which would infect the entire collective.
Oh!
Make it sound as if it's a disease.
Quite right, Doctor. A terminal one.
This is crazy for Picard to be saying, but if you know what Picard's saying, it must be pretty bad.
Yeah, and what he went through. I mean, he got all of the collective, thoughts and what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about annihilating an entire race.
But as I see it, the Borg leave us with little choice. I agree. We're at war.
Yeah.
But even in war, there are rules. You don't kill civilians indiscriminately.
There's no one Borg who is more an individual than your arm or your leg.
How convenient. When I look at my patient, I don't see a collective consciousness. I don't see a hive. I see a living, breathing boy who has been hurt and who needs our help.
It's a little bit different, Beverly.
We are justified in doing anything we can to survive. Security to Captain.
I don't know, man. I'm like 80% with Picard, but I mean, if they could find a way to deprogram the Borg one by one,
Because they are living beings.
Yeah, it could be, still a human under there that could have a life, but it's tough. That's tough.
Oh!
It's been a while.
Is that Guinan fencing? It is! Damn!
I understand we have a guest on board. Is that wise?
I'm not sure. I hope so. Dr. Crusher decided for humanitarian reasons to care for him.
They're gonna come after us, you know that.
Wow, Guinan even further to the aggression than Picard.
That's insane. She does have that history with them, though.
Yep, because didn't they kill our people?
I think so.
You all right?
You felt sorry for me. Look what it got you.
Oh! Damn!
Never underestimate Guinan.
Oh, God.
I thought it was going to be something stupid, like Picard couldn't control himself. He was distracted. But no, just another great moment. Jordy, watch out.
We are Borg. You will be assimilated. Resistance is futile.
Who's we?
We are Borg.
Hi, Borg.
Do you have a name?
Third of 5.
Does kind of suit you.
I'm surprised they'd even go to that length.
This is for you. It regulates the power flow to the frequency that you're used to. You're welcome.
I love that tube going into his cheek and it's like pulling out. It's like skin's all stretched. It's like, ugh.
Why do you do this?
I'm just a nice guy at heart.
You will be assimilated. Resistance is futile.
It's gratitude for you. I think he understands. When he cooperates, he gets fed. If not,
Like a rat in a cage.
What do you suggest, Beverly? Just let him walk around?
When we found you, you were dying. I saved your life.
Why? You will be assimilated.
yes, but before that happens, could we ask you a few questions?
I feel like they're gonna like pull the humanity out of this guy just for, you know, him to catch on to their scheme and be like, I trusted humans, and then you deceived me.
Do I have a name?
I'm Beverly. He's Jordy. And you?
No, wait a minute. That's it. Hugh.
You.
No, not you. Hugh.
Hugh.
Okay, now, I'm Beverly.
I'm Jordy.
We are Hugh.
Telling you, man, that's what's gonna happen. Gonna humanize him just to teach him one of the humans' most common traits, deception. At least the Borg don't deceive you. They tell you straight up.
True.
You will be assimilated.
Hugh, I'd like to take a closer look at your eyepiece. Is that okay?
Here.
Ugh.
Oh.
When you are assimilated, you will have a similar device. Here it is quiet. We live with the thoughts of the others on our minds. Thousands of voices with us always.
I think what you're saying is that you're lonely.
When you have completed these tests, what will be done with us?
The more I work with Hugh, the more...
Hugh?
Oh, she's gonna be pissed.
Oh, so now you have a Borg named Hugh. Right, and he's nothing like what I expected. It's like he's just some kid who's far away from home.
Let me tell you something. When that kid's big brothers come looking for him, they will destroy us.
Then why don't you go and talk to him?
Because I wouldn't have anything to say.
Oh.
Then why don't you just listen? That is what you do best, isn't it?
Oh my god.
What? Did you just clap back at fucking Guinan?
Dude.
You left on the scene? What? Jordy, what?
Wow, that's gotta be Jordy's coldest moment.
You don't look so tough. Aren't you gonna tell me you have to assimilate me? Resistance is futile.
It isn't.
Resistance is not futile.
No, but thanks to you, there are very few of us left.
You have no others. You have no home. We are also lonely.
Are you still unmoved?
No, I'm
You were
feeling it.
giving Beverly a lot of shit earlier.
Every time you talk about yourself, you use the word we. We want this. We want that. You don't say, I want this, or I am Hugh. I am Jordy. I choose what I want to do with my life. I make decisions for myself.
Are you ever lonely?
Sometimes, but that's why we have friends.
Friends.
Sure, someone you can talk to.
Like Geordi. And Hugh.
Oh no, dude.
I have to admit, I've been having second thoughts about this plan.
What?
I see.
He's not what I expected, Captain. He's got feelings.
Oh, here we go.
I would suggest that you unattach yourself from the Borg, Miss LaForge.
I would like to hear Data's unbiased opinion about it.
I don't know what made me go see him. LaForge said I should, but I said no. And suddenly there I was, standing there, staring at him. I need to hear you say that you are sure you're doing the right thing.
Guinan, you were the one pushing him earlier.
Now she needs to be pushed.
Yep.
But when you talk to him face to face, can you honestly say you don't have any doubt?
I haven't talked to it.
Why not?
Because he'll probably agree with you.
Yep.
You should at least look him in the eye once, because I am not sure he is still a Borg.
It is what it is. In spite of efforts to turn it into some kind of pet, I will not alter my plans.
But if you don't talk to him at least once, you may find that decision a lot harder to live with than you realize.
Wow, dude.
Oh, Renee, where have you been?
Like, what a situation where Picard is the one not being virtuous.
Yeah, like way to flip it. Good job.
Brings it right into his office.
Oh God.
Locutus.
Oh fuck.
Get out of my office.
He's about to go full winter soldier.
I am Locutus of Borg.
Yeah, why did he get a name?
We are Hugh.
This is not a Borg identification.
Third of 5.
This culture will be assimilated.
They will resist us.
Resistance is futile.
Resistance is not futile. Must Geordi be assimilated?
Yes,
He would rather die than be assimilated.
then he will die.
Geordi must not die. Geordi is a friend.
You will assist us to assimilate this vessel.
Damn it, Picard, just believe him.
You are Borg. You will assist us.
I will not.
I said I.
I will not assist you.
But you are Borg.
No. I am Hugh.
Oh my God, dude. He passed the test. I was totally thinking like, oh, Picard's gonna manipulate him into failing this test so that he can like feel good about himself.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Good job, Hugh.
That was great. Yeah, that was really good.
I want other options.
We could return him to the crash site. We'd have to remove his memory of having been on the Enterprise.
Does that seem right, to help him become an individual and then take that away from him?
Yeah, come on, Riker.
It's more likely that they would simply wipe out his memory of those experiences.
Then either way, his memory would have been erased.
Get him in a fucking uniform.
The sense of individuality which he has gained with us, of singularity. Perhaps that's the most pernicious program of all.
You're still kind of risking his life just on this plan, this hunch that you have. Like, if it doesn't work, he'll just be assimilated back in.
Right, yeah. Especially now that we care for him.
We can return you to the crash site, where they will find you. Or, if you wish, you can stay here with us.
If they find I am missing, they will come for me. What I want is not important.
Just answer the question, man. Come on.
I would choose to stay with Geordi,
My God.
but it is too dangerous. Return me to the crash site.
Think about this. Are you sure?
Yes.
I wish they had given Beverly a moment to gloat. Maybe it'll come at the end.
Yeah, she deserves it. I was wrong.
I told y'all.
It was nice getting to know you.
Goodbye, Beverly. You saved my life. Captain. I do not want to forget that I am Hugh.
I mean, it's like at least they gave him the choice, so I guess it's his own sacrifice.
So long, you.
Goodbye, Geordi. I will try to remember you.
Oh, he looked at him.
That's it? I mean, like, obviously I'm not expecting them to, like, be like, the Borg is all destroyed, you know, like, but it's like, we just never know. I mean, I guess that something could happen, but it's like...
That little look, that's all we need. Well, compared to the last episode, I say we gotta flip the switch, because this one is an S.
Yeah, easy S for me as well.
Woo! Well, Josh, you know what they say, with low lows come high highs. And with the odd, flat roller coaster that Season 5 has been for most of it, I think it's nice to see us go up this valley here with Borg. Holy shit. What a great emotional story, flipping the normalities of this crew, with Picard being the one to want to, destroy this thing in the Borg, and us getting, and them humanizing this Borg, becoming attached to it, with got a little painful downer ending, which I always enjoy. Yeah, I loved everything about this. Like 3 Guinan scenes, and also to flip things on its head, Geordi getting the last line on Guinan. You know, Geordi's been roasted more than anybody in this show. Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, we'll get to the nitty gritty, but overall, I mean, just a wonderful S.
Yeah, I think that I'm already going to say it up top. I think this is another lock for one of my favorite episodes of the season.
Yeah.
Everything about it is amazing. Great character episode as far as Geordi, Picard, Guinan, even Dr. Crusher to an extent, getting great moments because of Hugh. A great way of using the guest character to build our characters and not the guest just being the focus. I mean, is Hugh the focus? Yes, in theory, of the plot, but it's not just every scene with him walking around.
Mm-hmm.
So really loved this one. The writing from Renee Echevarria was stunning, and not anything in here I thought was not perfectly executed. Basically, it was one of those, S tier, no notes. You know what I mean? As far as like things I would change. I think that there's a very interesting alternate ending where Hugh doesn't want to get dropped off and, is dropped back off for episodic convenience. But, that aside, his motivation for why he wants to be dropped back off makes sense. He understands the risk. He understands what would happen if he stays. So everything about it was great.
Yeah, I love the idea of him making that choice to, to save them, to save people, to, be a good person. And that moment of him saying, "I am Hugh," was such like an emotional breakthrough. Because that scene with Picard was tough. When Picard was like railing into him, for a second I'm like, "Oh God, Picard, what are you doing? Did you have a Winter Soldier and like switch back?" And I thought the episode was gonna go full schlock for a second, and like Hugh and Picard were gonna team up and take on the Enterprise. But no, that was a great scene. And for the episode to make me look at myself and my wrong thinking for a bit there, because when Beverly first came out, I was talking about, oh, what about, and I'm like, oh God.
Yeah, you were way against it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, what are we doing here? And I'm like, but then I'm able to look at myself. I'm like, okay, similar to, I don't want to judge the Ferengi and how they all act, or how Kirk judged, Klingons for everything they did to his son. I'm like, wait, what am I doing here? Take a step back. It's like, I mean, I know the Borg has literally said they're one person here, but they're literally proving, as the episode goes on, if you separate it from the hive, then it becomes its own individual person. I understand hating it because it's literally said we're one thing. So I get that, understand. But just watching the entire thing flipped with like Picard being so against it, where it's like he wouldn't even go see him or talk to him because he knew in his mind, yeah, I'm going to fold. So it's like, I'm not even going to go.
Yeah, and that's why I mean the Borg, a perfect species for this plot.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen similar type enemies to friends plots, like in The Enemy with Geordi and the Romulan. Like similar themes have been done, but a species like the Borg that is a collective, that is a hive mind, that you only think of as human because they have a humanoid body for the most part, to take one of them and separate them out and make all of our characters as well as the audience, us, believe that this is no longer a part of the Borg. This is Hugh, done perfectly, and great choice. And you talked about how it made you question your own thinking. Like, is there anything better a TV show can do?
Yes, when I've said this so many times, where like why I love Picard so much. Can you put Picard in the situation where I would fold? I'm like, you know what, fuck this, I'm not doing it. But because that's why he's the guy in the chair, and then the episode can look at me. I'm like, I was thinking, yeah, send him back, blow up the Borg. It's like, well, wait a second, and they come up with this plan, like, oh, what if we can like free the entire Borg collective? Like, I love when an episode can make me look at myself and go, you piece of shit. You were going to, go down with that line of thinking. It's like, nope, we're pushing things forward here.
But this time it wasn't, virtuous Picard all the way. He was the last one. I mean, that's what was so great about it, is seeing him so headstrong, on the same page as you. And when Beverly first brings it up, I was a little bit more sympathetic to it, but I was still on Picard's side. Like, Beverly, her objection was just kind of a theory. And I was, as the audience member, allowing the episode to be like, okay, let's see where this goes. But it had to make me buy into it. Like, I wasn't just automatically thinking they were correct, but the episode did that great job, that slow progression. As soon as they captured the Borg, if he was immediately just snapped out of it humanoid, it would have been cheesy. It wouldn't have made sense. That slow progression from where Hugh starts, and, we are Borg, I'm third of 5, you will be assimilated, resistance is futile, to just slowly along the way. I think one of my favorite scenes is the moment where Guinan, is talking about her species to him, and he's like, no, it's not futile because some of us survived, and he's like, resistance is not futile, and like the deprogramming, right, of the propaganda of the Borg, and it's just like in real time, Guinan seeing him go through that. It was great.
Yeah, and like the Borg took out Guinan's like pretty much their entire species, and it's what Guinan says to him that starts to unravel him from becoming a Borg. It's like, I don't know, that's kind of poetic. Similar to the ending, I think is poetic. It's like George Lucas. It's like poetry, it rhymes. End of Best of Both Worlds Part 2. I think a little bit of the Borg is always going to be in Picard. That's always inside him. I mean, I don't think it's literally inside him, but that experience is always inside him. And just the ending when Hugh looks over at Geordi at the very end before he beams up, and like a little bit of his experience here is going to be with him. Obviously, we don't know the exact details, but a little bit of what happened here. Similar with what happened with Picard. And it would have been great if it just ended on the scene with Geordi right there, but it didn't. I forgive it. It's fine. It basically did, and it's like fantastic.
Well, it got me in the other way where when it cut back to the Enterprise shot, I thought it was going to go to another scene of something, of like them contemplating on the bridge or Geordi talking to Picard or something, and then it just ends, and I was like, wait, the fact that we didn't get that for sure answer, we just get the look, I
love it.
At first I was like, rug pulled out from under me, like, what? But I love that, the open ending of it. Who knows if Hugh ever comes back, if we ever hear of him, but even if we don't know what happened. We don't know the effect. Obviously, it didn't just completely, take down the Borg right away or whatever.
Yeah.
Got to talk about another Guinan scene, the scene with her and Picard fencing.
Oh, yeah, her doing some action here.
Yeah.
That was great.
And you called it right away that it was her. I knew she was in the episode and I don't think she had showed up yet. No, maybe she did.
No, that was her first.
That was her first one?
That was her first appearance, yeah.
I just loved, again, we see Picard as the aggressive one and Beverly's kind of his foil, against it. And then Guinan comes in, and she's even more aggressive than Picard because of her history and what they did to her. So then that's what made it so surprising for her to flip and be the one to convince Picard later on to go talk to him. I love that moment when they're fencing. And how about just the whole theming? I'm not smart enough to dig into it, but I'm sure there's something there with the fencing itself of how it relates to them two. And because when she sees him again, she's like, you were talking about how my arm needed to be stronger, blah, blah, blah. Maybe on a second watch, I can pick it up more. Maybe the Patriots could explain it, but I think there was something there.
Yeah, I mean, I think they told us what they wanted to say with her, faking her injury, and like, oh, you felt bad for me, didn't you?
Oh, great.
That was great. Oh, great. But yeah, this episode did the impossible. It made the Picard and Guinan the defectors at the beginning. It's like, what? It's like the rest of the cast has to convince them. It's like, oh, okay. And then it comes down to the final two of Guinan convincing Picard in that great scene. And the Guinan's like, I want you to be like 100% sure that you have to, you know, kill this thing. It's like, did you talk to him? No. And she explains why she went to go talk to him. It's like, I didn't even want to do it. I was just there, and then, you know, I talked to him, and it changed.
Guinan only to be outdone this time, maybe first time ever, by Geordi.
Yeah.
Who then throws it at her, and he's like, she's like, I wouldn't have anything to say. I thought that was like the ending Guinan cold line when he's like, why don't you go talk to him? I wouldn't have anything to say. And then he's like, then why don't you listen? Isn't that what you're good at? I'm like, oh, literally what she says. I 10 bar and I listen. It's like, oh, Geordi. That's got to be his best moment ever.
Besides congratulations, which is like a quick
Yeah,
throwaway
quick
line.
meme,
I
yeah.
mean, this is number one. His coldest line ever. After that, I'm like, oh, okay, I see your game, Geordi. Because, I mean, it only took him 4 years. Because Guinan's been around for, what, 4 years, right? So he's been cooking that line up for 4 years. He's been waiting. It's like, oh, I got it now.
It's like, Geordi, I wasn't familiar with your game. I apologize. Yeah, and a little bit of this episode does feel like not as much as the ethics episode where I said, oh, this one's for us. You really have to love these characters. I feel a little bit the same way here, but not as much. I do think this is more universal. Anyone can watch this episode, even if you haven't seen Star Trek, and you would get it for the most part. You probably wouldn't, you know, you're not going to understand the Locutus reference or, you know, the heaviness of how Picard feels. But I think for the most part, it's a little bit more universal. But knowing these characters, knowing Guinan, knowing Picard and everything, it really makes it hit home, especially with those two.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think this is a metaphor for something, like someone in a strong-headed political party? Or I think it's just the whole message is similar to that of, you know, the Men in Black thing. You know, people are stupid and an individual is smart.
Yeah.
You know, when people are, you know, groupthink, I think it's just a metaphor for groupthink.
Well, yeah.
You pull up, you talk to a person, you can see that they're an actual person, but when you get sucked into the big masses of hysteria, they become, you know.
And they go online.
Yeah.
Also, I think Beverly kind of lays it out when she's talking about war. And, you know, at first they're like, well, we're in a war. She's like, they haven't declared war. And he's like, oh, but they've attacked us. And she's like, okay, well, even if you do want to use that excuse if you're in war, war has rules. You shouldn't just kill civilians indiscriminately. And Picard's kind of like, yeah, well, in any other situation, you'd be right, but not this one because of reasons. And it's like, I'm not trying to completely discount that. Like, he has a point. Like, the Borg is a hive mind collective that wants to assimilate everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he is right. But I think that there were, you know, that messaging as well as, you know, just because someone, even if you are in a country where you're at war with somebody, that doesn't mean every single individual in that side is bad. Or it doesn't have to just be war, but, you know, just different opinions or different, whatever the case.
Yeah, but war is pretty ugly. I mean, you hear about it all the time. So during that scene, I'm like, Beverly, war is pretty bad. I mean, look at what happened in some wars and shit.
Well,
yeah. It's like, don't act like that doesn't happen, Beverly.
Well, it's almost like the virus they wanted to cook up was almost like a nuke. Like they wanted to nuke the Borg. It's almost like, okay, we're at war with this country. Instead of fighting this war, let's just nuke them to death. Then they'll all be dead. Now, obviously, it's different. We're on one planet. We would have consequences of damaging our planet. But in a space scenario, you know, or when Geordi used the metaphor of like a suicide bomber, like strapping a bomb to him, you know, it's just like, yeah, that's what really flipped me because I'm like, if this Borg guy, if he, you know, is disconnected, he becomes humanized, and now you're unwillingly using him as this, like that's some pretty shady stuff. And I think that's what Geordi realized, and that's what made me kind of really flip.
Yeah. When I came to you with those calculations. Yeah, that's definitely is when it started to flip, and I started to realize, like, wait a second. Yeah, especially when he started to, you know, talk more, and like, we're talking about doing a suicide. It's whoa. At first it was like, oh yeah, fuck these things for sure, but then it's like, oh wait a second, what show am I watching here? Let me think for a second. Hold on, what's wrong with me? Yeah, but, yeah. Go ahead.
And as someone who loves to like jump ahead of the story or try to rewrite things of how I think it'd be cooler, this is a case where they completely outdid what I thought it was going to be. I mean, I was thinking they're not going to tell him about what they're going to do, and he's going to find out somehow or put it together, and then that's going to like betray his trust that he's built, and then that'll turn, you know, he then rejoins the Borg more angry than ever. Now the Borg is simulating this information that humans are evil and, you know, deceptive, and because the Borg, you know, the one thing they really aren't is deceptive. Like, they don't lie to you, they just tell you how it is. So I thought, oh no, we're going down the typical, like, not really miscommunication because they would be deceiving him, but like, their intentions made it worse. You
Yeah.
know, they didn't go that way. The way they went with the story, 100 times better. I love this story they told much more. And the fact that they were smart enough to all realize one by one, like they had enough time in the 44 minutes to all realize, no, this is wrong. We're not going to do it. And then left the choice to him, not for the whole virus bomb thing, but left the choice to him of what to do was, I thought, the strongest part of the writing, because it clears all of our characters' conscience. You know, they give him the choice.
Yeah, it was fucking perfect.
Yeah.
It was great. It was amazing.
I want to say big picture because I want to ask what you think about this. A lot lately with how kind of mediocre some of the season has been, you know, I've been a lot more nostalgic for TOS, and thinking back to TOS is, you know, it's like, oh man, it was so fun. Like every episode because TOS to me is like so much closer to like a Twilight Zone-esque, you know, anthology, like deeply episodic.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, you never knew what you were going to get into. Not every episode was great, but it was so awesome. But with an episode like this, or The Wounded, The Bonding, etc., it just feels like what TNG can bring to the table that I think TOS really didn't most of the time, is that it really, like, it's an episode of TV like I've never seen this before. You know what I mean? And it's like, I will be thinking about this episode literally forever.
Yeah.
Almost like I would compare it more to a movie where, like, you know, when you watch a really interesting movie and you're like, wow, I really got to think about this and decompress. TNG gives that to me with these stories. Where they're still episodic, somewhat serialized sometimes, but it's like, wow, how deep these themes are. I think that's kind of what TNG has been able to bring to the table.
Yeah, that's what separates it from TOS. We've had more time with the characters, more seasons, absolutely. And yeah, just these movies had to sit with you for a while. I mean, yeah, there's been movies where they sit with me for a long time, and there's been so many episodes of the show where it sits with me for a long time. And that has happened maybe a few times in TOS for me, where it's like, shit, you know, City on the Edge of Forever, the episode of the Mugatu.
The really elite
episodes.
Yeah.
And I want to say the show has some more elite episodes in that tier of I need to think about this.
Yeah, and it could just be episode count, right? I mean, you're 178 or 179 versus 79, so they had a lot more, you know, more at-bats.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
True.
Because there's a lot more like the last episode where I'll never think about it again. And there's episodes like that of TOS, but, you know, there's less because there's less episodes. But yeah, I just find that very interesting because recently I've been very, very nostalgic for TOS, and this doesn't make me less nostalgic or anything. Like, I still love the show, obviously, but thinking back, it is like, oh yeah, like, yeah, it was fun, and some of the episodes I really love, and there are those few elite ones. But a lot of the time, it was kind of like, fun story of the week. What are they getting into out in space? As to where this one really has the power. Now, especially, that we love these characters, that it's like, wow. It's like, damn.
And they have the power to do it. And sometimes they don't, and it sucks.
That's why we get so angry.
Yeah, it's like, you get one chance. It's like, you gotta do it. And they did it with this one, thank God. But, and also, in comparison to TOS, like, this episode would never happen in TOS, you know, because it's like a callback to episodes 2 seasons prior. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, with the way they were doing things back then. And they really took a chance with this, I think, because, you know, producers think, you know, people are dumb, and, you know, these writers come on and they are starting to trust the audience. Finally, it's like, okay, we're going to drop all these details. They're going to remember Locutus. They're going to remember this. I mean, some things they even remember all the way back to season 1 or 2. So, credit.
Because, like, yeah, let's also, just real quick, there is no B-plot here. There is the looming threat of the Borg coming. But, yeah, if this was a TOS episode, like, it would not be enough to just have this Borg. It'd be like, if they had a species on board, it'd be like, oh, now we're being attacked, you know. And that's all fine for TOS. I love TOS. Obviously, we glaze it all constantly. But it's just, that's what that show is. And when this show, like, I want it to be its own thing. And when it sometimes falls into that, where imagine this same episode, but then also they're being attacked, you know, it's like, no, just give us this amazing story. And it was great.
Yeah, thank God. So it's an overwhelming S with 61%. 30% A, 7% B, 2% C, 1% D, 0% E. But I'm wondering who gave it the D. That's
yeah, over 90% is either A or S, so I'm not surprised by that at all. But remember, Alex, we hate all well-liked episodes.
Oh yeah, every classic well-liked, yeah.
Oh yeah, we never, it's all for clicks, right? Here's one from Juan Tutrafor. Haven't heard from you in a while. Nice to see you. Kirk and Picard, let them die. With you guys doing the shows and movies chronologically, I never realized how close in time these brief villain moments for the captains were. Star Trek VI was only a month or two removed from Picard trying to go nuclear. And yeah, I had a quick thought of this, but it was with Worf when they were down on the moon. And Worf saw them and he was like, I don't think he said let him die, but he said something similar to like killing him. And obviously, it's become kind of a meme to you at this point because of how angered you were by it. But did you have any thoughts of that or a comparison at all about that?
I guess. I mean, I think also in the back of my mind how well we've gotten to know Klingons helped, and me knowing like the Borg is like a collective species, and Picard was directly assimilated by it and knows what they're about. I kind of understood it more. I mean, I get it. Klingons killed David, but I think the crux or the crux in my thinking with that is, well, we've seen a lot of Klingon stuff since David died with TNG, Worf, and all that. So no, I didn't really think it. So when Picard thought it, that was the last guy I ever expected to. He's 10 times more virtuous than Kirk. So when Picard thought, I'm like, oh shit. I wasn't upset. I was more in shock at first. But after thinking about it more, it's like, But the episode. Me and Picard were in the same boat. We went on the journey together to get to the other side, and that's beautiful, I think.
Yeah, I find it great Patron Take because I find it very what's the word? Poetic, I guess, in terms of how angry you were at Kirk, and you gave the reasons why it's different here, and I agree with you. I was on board at first, even though I was more sympathetic to what Beverly was saying. It is different situations. But it is funny. I wonder if they had any intention there of being similar. Probably not. But I'm glad the way it played out here made it was a lot more entertaining. A little bit.
Yeah.
Now, if Picard had gotten framed and arrested.
Darren Starr says, episodes like this are what Star Trek is all about, in my opinion. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
100%. And I think when people say things like, this is Star Trek, I think that could apply to probably a dozen different things off the top of my head that are all correct as far as what Star Trek is, and this is one of them for sure. Here's one from NX01. I love how this episode showed some of Guinan's flaws without it feeling out of character, and also gave her some character growth. 100% agree. She's such a perfectly written character. She's the one usually helping our characters in the show grow. This is the first time we see any cracks with her. That's what made it so great.
That's why it was special. I think I have to read this one. Now I understand the name. This one's from Star Trek Borg. He says, my namesake. Decent episode, solid A. I just couldn't bring myself to give it an S grade. Maybe because I could bring myself to giving a shit about Hugh. I would have killed him and saved the quadrant. I like the episode's name, though. So you named your whole thing after him, but you couldn't give it an S? I don't know. I was with you at first. I didn't like Hugh, but after Star Trek pulls at those strings, I began to care about him, and he can be like the first seed to start a change of a revolution with the Borg, and I don't know. Yeah.
This was from Kenneth Elder. S for finally giving Picard an L moment and behavior, but also giving him the space to learn. It's episodes like this that make me love the show. Stewart's and Goldberg's performances here shows they are not perfect paragons of morals, but people who still have room to grow. 100%. That's a great take.
Absolutely. Here's Evan Guthrie with a question. In Best of Both Worlds, Riker makes a tough call to sacrifice Picard to destroy just one Borg ship. In this episode, Picard chooses not to sacrifice one Borg to potentially destroy all Borg. Who do you think made the right decision?
So, Picard.
Yeah, I mean, that's my answer. Yeah.
But I also, as much as we've made fun of Riker with the Worf fire, I don't think his decision was bad or wrong necessarily.
No.
Most captains in Riker's scenario in Best of Both Worlds would have done that and sacrificed Picard.
Yeah.
What I was criticizing him for is, not being Picard, basically. Not being the one guy who I thought wouldn't do that, but that's not really Riker's fault because Picard's just on top, with virtue. Picard here, though, I think it's tough, but I think he makes the right choice. A lot of people have brought this up at the takes of basically their problem with the episode being that they don't agree. You have the chance to take down, this enemy and you don't do it. And I just can't agree with that. I just feel like as soon as this this guy Hugh, his humanity is kind of proven out, you can't just kill him. Like, I don't care what your odds of killing the Borg are. Like, you can't do that. I can't be okay with that.
Yeah, I'm surprised people are saying that, especially since how well we've gotten to know Picard these past 5 years or 5 seasons, and how virtuous he is. And that, I mean, they must be more in the Kirk boat of the shoot 'em type style.
Yeah.
And like I've definitely, I don't think we've ever been that way all the way since Balance of Terror, which I love that episode now. But even back then, I was like, why do that doesn't sit right with me. And I mean, maybe like some people like the more military war-esque save, kill these to save how many more, but I still like the optimistic chance more. It's like, I don't know, like people being mad at Batman for never killing Joker, despite all Joker's done, because he still has hope. It's crazy sometimes, but it's...
Also, we as the audience, we could sit here and be like, oh, you can't do that, all that. It's like, we don't have to deal with the consequences of this fake show, Like, we don't have to deal with the consequences of the Borg then moving on and going and destroying a whole bunch of other planets. That in theory our characters have to deal with that on their conscious. Like, we don't have to deal with that. So I get what they're saying. Here's an example. This is a good one. I guess we could jump into what would be the defectors. Michael Metric says, this is a D for me, one of my least favorite episodes. It's just not acceptable that a chance to defeat a genocidal enemy is so rejected. This story morally elevates Picard and his crew far past believability. Fight me, I'm right. And we're all disagree there, not only on what I just said, but also it's not like the episode brings this up like, oh, we have a chance to kill them, and they all immediately are like, no, we can't do that. We're too virtuous. What makes this episode so great is that, except for Beverly, they all want to do that, and then one by one, they're all peeled away, and they all realize why they can't. Yeah. And first, then Geordi, I don't think I can do it. Then Guinan, then Picard. That's what made it so great, in my opinion.
Yeah, they weren't all just, right away. They all got there, because a lot of them were... Yeah, it was like 80-20. They were all, yep, we're going to do this.
Another defector from Phil. The Borg are a threat to every species that doesn't stand shoulder to shoulder with the Q and near omnipotence. Returning Hugh to the collective so that they may see the traits that humanity possesses and holds dear, like individuality, friendship, curiosity, innovation, doesn't make any sense. Because the Borg are familiar with these traits, they have assimilated them many times over, including those traits of Picard. They adapt and conquer. Picard is wrong. Now, that one I'm not really disagreeing with. I don't really buy into, unfortunately, I don't think Hugh is going back and having some impact on the Borg. Like, I took it more as Hugh sacrificing himself and being assimilated. But maybe he could hold on to some of it. But for the most part, it's just going to be assimilated back into the Borg. And I also, speaking of that take, had some feelings watching it of, like, being reminded of them assimilating Guinan and thinking, like, oh, that's interesting. Whenever we've seen the Borg, they're just basically humans. And it's like, could they, Guinan's people have some type of powers or something? Like, did they assimilate that? We've never seen, like, a Klingon assimilated Borg, like, different things. It's interesting.
It seems like they assimilate what they are, but they don't use it. They're aware of the knowledge that they have and the way they behave, but they don't behave that way. It's just in the collective. Like, yeah, we know.
Just knowledge.
Yeah, it's like, because, you have to be Borg. We are the best. It's logical. Why would I do what?
Oh, because that's why they're assimilating everyone.
Yeah. It makes no sense. I mean, we have the information, but we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Borg is the best option.
So I guess if there was a weak point of the episode, I guess I would agree that that whole plan or that whole idea seems like more just a cope from Picard and the crew. Like, oh, well, maybe, he could change the Borg. Like, I don't really buy into that. But I took the sacrifice from Hugh more so is what I took from it.
Yeah, but I do like, there is the chance. There is a chance.
Yeah, there's a chance, yeah.
It probably won't work, but there is a chance. It just takes, it's like Broom Kid at the end of The Last Jedi.
I don't think that's what it's like.